Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to be making the Charms of Bezel from Ben 10. Not only 5 of them are the Charms of Bezel, but also one of them is the Keystone of Bezel. So the first thing that we're going to do is take our Scupley Air Dry Clay first, and the first thing we're going to do by doing that is start by loosening up the clay and making 2 clay balls. After making the 2 clay balls, we're going to use these Easter eggs, but we're only going to use the top part of the Easter eggs to have our mold. So I'm going to take each one of the clay and start by putting them in, start pressuring in there so it's all in there, and start making the mold of the shape inside. After the shape of the clay is now molded inside the plastic eggs, I let them sit there for 24 hours. After the 24 hours are done, the clay inside the mold of the plastic egg is now solid. And it'll be easy for the clay itself to come out, and once it is, we have a perfect half sphere. Since there's 6 total and I made the first 2, I have to repeat the process again by making the other 4. So by repeating the process, by taking the mold once again, place the clay in there, and wait for 24 hours. And after another 24 hours have passed, we finally got our set of the 6 of the Charms of Bezel. The top part turned out great, and I was very happy with the results. But also I noticed that there's like a little cracks of surface around the sphere, and also most of them are a little bit higher than the others, and also lumps at the bottom, which is no worry because I'll be taking this outside and by using our sandpaper. After getting a better look at them outside and also look of what I need to do by sanding them down, the first thing is to do is by sanding the bottom part of each of the stones first before doing anything else. And after sanding the first one down, it'll be looking like this down at the bottom. Nice and flat and perfect. Since the first one is done, now I gotta do the other 5. After sanding the bottom half of the stones, they are finally nice and smooth on each one at the bottom. Since the bottom part is done, now we can focus on the top part by getting rid of that center point that's there and also the extra material, so the cracks there as well. So I'm going to take my folded sandpaper and rub it around in circles to get that extra material off so it can be all nice and smooth. After sanding it down, which didn't take too long, the result of it, of how it looks now from how the others are, looks amazing. After all 6 are finally sanded down, now we can finally go to the next step by drawing the designs on our stones. The method that I'll be using to draw the designs on the charm stones is by using a sheet of grid paper, and I'm going to be drawing a square, which is the exact measurements of these stones that I measured. With it, it will allow me to get the exact center point of the stones and start by drawing the designs on them. On how I mark my stones in the very dead center, here's an example. I take the sheet where it has my measurements. I take one of my stones that already has the mark in the very dead center of it. I basically take the circle stone and just put it inside the square, and I just make sure everything is lined up perfectly with the grid paper of the shapes, and after that, boom, dead center. Since all of them has the mark dead center, it helps me a lot by making sure all the design stays perfect and centered on how each one is supposed to be on each one of the Charms of Bezel. Each one has a very unique designs, which took some time and patience to make sure that each and every one of these Charms of Bezel with the design stays perfect as it can be, and I am very happy on each one of the designs that are on these Charms of Bezel stones. They're coming out perfectly the way I wanted them. After finishing the last one, our set with the designs of the Charms of Bezel is done, and now we can go to the next step. By taking my Dermal Tool 3000 with a special bed on them for this, and setting the setting on 4 and sometimes 6, I can slowly do the carving on each one of the stones. By using my Dermal Tool, I am able to trace around the design and also sanding it down so it can be perfect as this. I am very happy with the results of each one of my tracing tool techniques, of making sure that each one of these comes out perfectly and beautiful. By being patient and also pacing myself, it allowed me to make sure that by using my Dermal Tool to trace around the shape of the design, it allowed me to make sure that each one of them came out beautifully as always. After the Dremel carving is done, we can finally move on to the painting. I am using a lot of white and a little bit of black to give it that light gray color for the stones, because that is the main color for the stones. And by doing so, each one of them will have like a 2 or 3 coat to make sure that the color of the way I want it comes out perfectly. I also made sure that while some of them were wet, I made sure I put it in front of the fan so they can dry, while I am focused on making sure that the other ones are painted the way they're supposed to be as well. After painting all 5 of the Charms of Bezel, I can finally work on the 6th one, which is the Keystone of Bezel, which is the main color for it is red. And after all 6 is dry on top, I can finally paint the bottom part for it as well. Lastly, we take our small paintbrush and some black paints and start by painting in the designs, and after hours later, our set of Charms of Bezel and the Keystone of Bezel is finally complete.